Videos off is like kryptonite to me. I very much feed off of your facial expressions, your body language, just the presence and the energy that you bring. So you can imagine when we went virtual last year, and all of a sudden we went from live people to a bunch of blank screens with names on it. That was a whole new world that I got to explore. And so if you feel comfortable to truly get a big benefit out of the day, I would love if you would click on your little video camera and let us see you and really be present with all of us for today. That would be amazing. So I hail not only from District 100, which is in Southern California. I'm part of Club 407, as we affectionately know it. It is a club made up of past district governors, district directors. We have a past international president, many past members of the board of directors, current members of the board of directors, as well as past and current region advisors, as well as district trios. We're one of the only clubs that, while we have a lot of pasts in our name, the whole reason for being is to impart training and wisdom to current trio members. So it's a great way, and I think Heather and Tina have both visited us a couple times, and so it's a great place to be. But my home district is District 1, also in Southern California, where my home club is Mattel Toastmasters. So yes, I play with Barbie and Hot Wheels all day, like the movie Big. Not really, I wish I did, but I do work for the company, and I've been a member of Toastmasters for over 20 years, and I've had the opportunity to serve in many club officer roles as well as district roles. And in 2010, 2011, I got to serve as district governor. Same year as Eric, I found out, unbeknownst to me till I got to do this role. And that year, our district achieved Select Distinguished. We were ranked number 9 in the world districts at the time. And so it's one of my favorite things to share because of what the people on my team accomplished outside of Toastmasters as a result of serving in these leadership roles. That's something very, very important to me. So when we talk about leadership elevated, joining Toastmasters and being in these club officer roles by choice, because even if you had someone who asked you to say, would you serve, and they're that person for you that you can never say no to, right? Let me see those emojis, those emoticons. Do you have someone in your life that you just can't say no to? You still had a choice. You still could have said no. And so the ask is that you honor your yes, honor the yes, and really step up and do the leadership elevated, but approach it from a different perspective this time. Because if you've been in the role once or twice and you're one of those persons like, what am I going to learn at this TLI? I've been doing it since dirt. I've even trained the roles. Then how can you do it differently? What is happening in your world professionally, personally, where it's like, I still have some things that aren't working about me. How can I take on this role and work on that particular aspect? I still can't get my husband to make his bed. I still can't get my kids to pick up their shoes in the morning before they're going to school. Whatever your story is, try and look at it from a different angle, and also serve as a way to pay it forward with all the gold nuggets that you've gotten. And so that's what we're going to be doing here today, is helping you elevate your leadership, as well as maybe introduce you to some additional opportunities that if you're willing to choose and step just a smidge outside your comfort zone to make your comfort zone bigger. Because think about it, every time you do something that isn't in your norm, you're actually stretching your comfort zone and making it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what we get to do in Toastmasters in this fun little safe environment, we like to call it, is just try it. So try on something new if you're willing. As Tina stated, we have an amazing lineup for you today. We've got Eric Vaughn, who's going to take us through his journey a little bit and what he learned in leadership. And then we're going to bring on a panel of past area directors, and one is even a current area director serving back-to-back terms. Kudos, if you were in front of me, I'd be hailing all of you. Or doing it, that's a really big deal. And then we're going to break, and then we'll come back and do some breakout sessions with your officers training. And then we'll come back to the main room and bring it all together for you and have some closing remarks, get your thoughts, see what you're willing to do moving forward, and really have a powerful morning to set off your Saturday as well as your weekend. So does that sound good? Good. All right. For those of you still on, thanks so much. I like reactions. And so I'm going to say one last thing before we hand it right over to Eric. It's a Saturday morning, and yes, we could be anywhere. And we've got a lot of things vying for your time. Yesterday morning, I woke up with vertigo. This morning, I woke up with vertigo, and I'm still dizzy as we speak. And so if I can do this and persevere through dizziness, because God forbid I turn like this, my head's about to spin, we can have a really powerful morning and really focus on what we're here to do and release all the stuff that becomes those obstacles for us and those excuses and those considerations. So we're here to have fun and really elevate your leadership. Are you with me? Are we good? Let me see those jazz hands. I love attention. So we know what's happening, but we're going to bring you into the highlight of our morning. And so stepping forward to serve in leadership role can be a daunting task, but it doesn't have to be. Our kickoff speaker has been in Toastmasters for 15 years and has served in every club officer role, every elected district officer role, including achieving Distinguished District 2 Governor from 2010 to 2011, and has served at the international level as the Region 1 advisor from 2012 to 2014. In those many years of Toastmasters leadership, he learned some important lessons in servant leadership and will share them with you today. After this session, you'll be ready to take the next step in your leadership journey. So you are in great hands. Turn on those cameras and let us see those jazz hands, those emoticons, as we welcome our kickoff speaker, Eric Vaughn, presenting Take the Next Step.
Thank you very much, Giovanna. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "Take the next step in faith. You don't need to see the entire staircase. Just take the next step." And that quote for me, I heard very early on in my Toastmasters career and had a profound impact on how I look at leadership roles and different opportunities that are presented along the way. I would first like to say thank you all very much for those of you who have turned your camera on. I will have a confession for you. I am an introvert. In these type of meetings where I work 40 hours a week in Zoom calls sometimes, and I come into a training session, all I want to do is turn the camera off. So if that's you, I'm going to give you an out. I know that you're there. Those of you that are extroverted and smiling and are wearing clothes above the waist, keep your cameras on, keep smiling, and we'll get through this together. I look through the names on the screen and I see in front of me here in gallery view, and I'm very excited to see some names that I'm familiar with. Toastmasters that I've been friends with and worked with for many years. And I'm also excited to see folks that I've never met before. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in the future when we're allowed to get back together at our conferences and our events. We're all a part of an amazing organization, Toastmasters International, where we're working on our communication and our leadership skills. And as I'm sure you're aware, Toastmasters International has got many different layers of leadership. We've got the international level, the regional level, the district level, the division level, the area level, and the club level. And while we could spend time talking about the intricacies of all of these different leadership levels, I'm really going to try and focus it on the area level, area governor level, area director level. I was fortunate enough to serve as an area governor back in 2006, 2007. And that was, believe it or not, almost 15 years ago. And so if you hear me talk about an area governor instead of an area director, you'll know why, because that was the terminology of the time. And believe it or not, after 15 years, it's still stuck in my head, in my heart, that that's what it was. It was a governor. But you'll know if you're a director what I'm talking about. So to set the stage for you, I joined Toastmasters in 2005, February of 2005. And there was a gentleman who was working in the sales department named Travis at the company where I worked, Great American Insurance. And he knocked on my cube wall and he said, "Eric, come downstairs. We're having a Toastmasters meeting." And I kind of looked at Travis with a little skepticism because I had no prior experience to Toastmasters. And my understanding, my expectation of Toastmasters was a little white box that you put on the kitchen counter and you put two delectable pieces of bread in there, and 30 to 45 seconds later, you've got an excellent breakfast treat. I was in for quite a shock. So we all gathered downstairs in our training room, and the employees were kind of nervously talking amongst each other because there were two men in the front of the room talking to our general manager, and both of these men were in suits and ties. And that was a little weird, but not too unexpected. I mean, it's an insurance company, and they were introduced as Michael's son and Ray Roman. Now, little did I know at the time that these two men were going to have a profound impact on the trajectory of my life. Michael was charismatic. He was engaging. He was entertaining. And the way he connected with a room full of people that he had never met before blew my mind. And to make things more interesting, Michael said, I work as a pharmaceutical manager at QFC. And the disparity there for me was quite shocking, because I don't know about you, but when I think about a pharmaceutical manager, I think of quiet, I think of reserved, I think of calculating, and they're thinking about your prescription and making sure that there's not going to be any adverse combinations. And that was just such a juxtaposition that I was blown away. And I didn't know what this Toastmasters thing was, but if I could see that it would do what it did to Michael for me, then I was in. So that's 2005, February 2005, the Seattle Toastmasters are founded. Fast forward a little bit, and for the 2006-2007 year, I was elected as club president. At the time, I was 28 years old, and kind of reluctantly stepped into club leadership, because it's one of those things that, you know, in a corporate club, it kind of turns into not who really wants to be club president, but who is going to be club president this year, right? So there's that awkward sense of leadership. But I thought, hey, you know what, this Toastmasters thing has been fun so far. I'm gonna stick with it, keep going. And I went to an area contest, and I got to my first area contest, and I got there early. And I'm habitually early. I would rather be 15 minutes early than 2 minutes late, but I got there an hour early because I read the agenda wrong, or the meeting invitation wrong. And so I'm in my car, and I can still remember this to this day. It was a beautiful fall day in Bellevue, and I was sitting in the parking lot at the Unigard Insurance Building, and I'm reading through, and I get to the back of the book, this Toastmasters manual, because it was the only book in my car. And there was this little caveat about district leadership. You needed to serve a year as a district leader to get the Distinguished Toastmaster. I wasn't really sure at the time that Distinguished Toastmasters was what I wanted to do, but this idea of district leadership was interesting to me, because for the prior year and a half, Toastmasters to me was at Great American Insurance. Toastmasters to me was meeting every Wednesday from noon to 1 with my coworkers, and I had yet to conceptualize that there was a larger organization outside of my little club in Bellevue, Washington. And I'm sure we've all had that experience, that before we really introduced to the larger environment, we just thought Toastmasters was a thing that we did in our, you know, at our work. And I knew there had to be a bigger organization, clearly, because Michael and Ray had come in from some other place, but I had no idea the sort of scale and scope of this organization and how it had clubs and members around the world. So here I am, I go into my area contest, and I see a familiar face. I see Michael, and there's a little bit of time before the event goes off, and I pull Michael aside and I say, hey, Michael, you know, I've been elected as club president this year, and I was reading through the book, and I happened to notice that you need district leadership for DTM. Would you mind telling me what district leadership is involved? And the smile that came across his face, I still remember because I felt it was a little sinister. And Michael snuck off, and he came back with that same guy who was at the club meeting over a year ago, Ray Roman. And for those of you who know Ray, it's not a surprise. But for those of you who have yet to meet Ray Roman, Ray is very stoic, and Ray is very serious, and to the point that when Ray served as district governor, he had a reputation that made it all the way to world headquarters. The District 2 was the Roman Empire, because Ray was serious. And Ray was all business when it came to Toastmasters. And thinking about it now, I don't think I saw Ray smile for the first 2 years I knew him. I'm sure he did at some point, but when he was out front, Ray was always in a suit. Ray was always business, and this was very serious. For some people, that leadership style didn't work. But for me, coming from a military family, I respected that. And I definitely gravitated towards that style of leadership. So Ray and Michael come back, and Ray says, Eric, I hear you're interested in being an area governor. And I said, well, I told Michael that I'm currently serving as a club president, that maybe next year would be a good opportunity for me to serve because I'll have more time. And he said, oh, well, that's interesting, but we have an open area governorship now in Area 61. What would you think about doing that? And I thought, man, I have some reservations. And because I had a litany of excuses that I had ready to go. I was a relatively new parent. My first daughter had been born earlier in 2006. I was working on the job, I had all these other excuses. I had side hobbies I was trying to get going. We all have these lists of excuses, and Ray just kind of nodded, and he didn't smile, but he just sort of nodded, and he said, well, how about we go out to lunch and we'll talk about this role and see if you're interested. So I thought that I had wiggled off the hook there, but I agreed to meet Ray for lunch, and I can still remember this to this day, going into Red Robin and sitting down and talking with Ray. And each objection that I raised with Ray, like, I don't know, Ray, I mean, I'm a brand new club president. I'm new to Toastmasters. I've barely been in it a year and a half. Are you sure that this is a good idea for me to do area governor, area director this year? And he had reassuring words for each one of those objections that I had. You could call them excuses or just concerns. And Ray worked through each one of those. And at the end, I said yes. Even though I was scared, even though I was unsure of my role, but Ray had given me the confidence that even though you're unsure and even though you're new to the role, you would be a great area governor because you're a club president. And who are you going to be talking with? Other club presidents, other club officers. They're going to be going through exactly what you're going through this year. You'll be able to relate to them. And so that was my first lesson in leadership, is that if you're looking for an excuse on why not to do a leadership role, any excuse will do. But I would encourage you to look for reasons why it will work instead of thinking of the reasons why it won't work. Ray also was very big on this phrase, on this saying that he taught all of us that worked for him during his district governor year. The answer is always no, unless you ask. And that saying can have a couple different connotations to it. The way I thought of it at the time was, when I need to ask for help, when I'm considering taking on a leadership role, if I don't pick up the phone and call and ask for help, the answer is going to be no, right? It's effectively a no because I didn't ask. The worst thing that's going to happen is that I'm going to call up Diane Hitzel and ask her for help, and she's going to say, nope, sorry, I've got other commitments. Or I might call up for Baxter and say, Baxter, would you be willing to be on my committee? And Baxter might say, no, I've got other plans. But that reservation, that hesitation, that doubt that breeds in our mind is always reinforced because we think they're going to say no. Well, what happens if they say yes, right? Think of all the things that you can do if you call somebody like Jeff Copeland and say, Jeff, are you willing to help me today? And he says yes. It's a huge opportunity. And you waste it if you don't ask. So that's the second leadership lesson. The answer is always no, unless you ask. So don't hesitate to ask. In a couple minutes, we're going to be going into breakout rooms, and our Zoom master is going to move us all into the rooms. And I would encourage you at that time, if you can, to take your camera off mute so we can see your beautiful faces and you can interact with the people in your group. You're going to be automatically assigned and you'll be in there for about 10 minutes. And what I would like you to do in that 10 minutes is to think about a time in the past where you have had some reservations, some hesitations about why you could not take the next step in your leadership role, whether that's an area director role, whether that's a district director role, or something entirely different. And I want you to think about what was the key objection you had there and how did you overcome it, or how will you overcome it? When we come back from our breakout rooms, we're going to have the opportunity to share. So about 3 or 4 of the groups, I will ask a representative of that group to share. So if nobody volunteers, here's how we're going to pick who's going to speak. It's currently the 6th of November. Whoever in your group, their birth date is closest to the 6th, they're the speaker. Make sense? So if you're born on the 7th, congratulations, you're probably speaking. If you're born on the 30th, you're probably off the hook. But in your groups, if you can't come up with a volunteer, I've come up with one for you. So use that time in the breakout rooms. You will get an automated message from our Zoom master saying you've got 2 minutes, 1 minute to come back, and then we'll share. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kevin. He's going to move you into the different breakout rooms, have that discussion, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Kevin.
You're welcome. And it's 9:24.
Great job, Eric.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I see there's a few more people still filtering in. And look at all those beautiful faces I see out there smiling in Toastmasters land. Man, I wish you guys could migrate this fast between educational sessions at our conferences. You're amazing. Just like in the snap of a finger, you're in one room and then you're back. You guys are awesome. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and assume that you've each been virtually teleported back to our room. And I'd like to start with group number 1. Who is our designated speaker from group number 1? And tell us about what your objection was and how you would overcome that.
I don't even know what group I was in, so.
Oh, that's a good question. All right. Well, let me list out some names because I can see the names from group 1. And if you were with Joseph Carty, Todd Cutterback, Michael Sheely, Kent Bridenstine, you're in group number 1. So who was your representative?
I nominate Linda.
Linda, all right.
Linda was not in our group, by the way. This is Rekha.
All right, Todd, that means it's on you as a past district governor.
Oh, did I say the wrong? Karen, I'm sorry. I meant Karen. I didn't mean Linda.
Don't be shy.
Alrighty then. Good day. Oh, is
all
Linda
right.
gone?
Are you doing it,
go.
Todd?
No, you are.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Todd. So we talked about how busy our lives are and how difficult it is often to say yes. Some of us have a problem where we have trouble saying no sometimes, and we have to juggle a lot. But mostly we talked about how it's that to ask people that we loved Eric's expression that if the answer is always no, if you don't ask. And that is something that all of us agreed, that it's very important that just asking. Sometimes it's important to remember to be more personal and to know a little bit about the person and tell them how much you would appreciate it and how great you think they would be, and also how you're giving them an opportunity to grow when you ask someone to do something. And
Great.
that's an important thing to impart. I think that sums it up.
All right. Thank you very much, Karen, and group number 1. Up next, we're going to have group number 5. And in group number 5, we had Diane Hitzel, Janice Powell, Julie Randall, Marcia, Peter, Suzanne, and Victoria. So who's the lucky representative from group number 5?
I don't think we chose one.
Uh-oh.
But we got to talking about how the biggest impediment, of course, is time, and how all of the various aspects of our lives, get in the way, our work and our family and friends and everything. And well, what's the one thing that Toastmasters can help us with? And that's to learn how to prioritize and get stuff done, even when you've got a lot on your plate.
Great. Thank you
So
very
I strongly
much.
encourage stepping up, taking the next step.
Thank you very much, Diane. Finally, we'll close with group number 7. This one had Karen Rosequist, Mike Sawyer, Martha Duvall, Tommy Price, and Jeff Copeland. So the representative from that group, please.
I think that's Tommy.
We didn't choose one, but thank you, Jeff.
Anytime, Tommy.
We had several issues that came up. Excuse me, rock concert last night. One was a lack of confidence, which generally goes to perfectionism or I can't get it right enough. And there's never a perfect situation. We had a couple that were tend to say yes to everything. And they say yes because they're scared they're not going to be liked if they say no. And the other one was when you get inside leadership, you can't do it good enough. So then you're going to be disliked for the job that you're doing.
All right. So it sounds.
The basic note was all of those are really lies.
That's true. That's true. Thank you very much, Tommy, in group 7 there for your contributions. So I'll just briefly touch on some of the things that I've heard and then kind of summarize. Time is definitely an important factor. And going through the leadership chairs, I'd heard and tried to reinforce that Toastmasters is never going to be higher than priority number 3. Your first priority is your family. Your second priority is your profession or your work, and Toastmasters should never come higher than that, right? Because while it's an outstanding organization and incredibly important, your family, your personal health, and your employment situation all carry a greater impact. But with that being said, time and commitments, I know that we often use those as a crutch. When I was Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, I had 2 small daughters. I was commuting 20 hours a week, had a full-time job, and still had time to do it because I was able to delegate some of the work that was involved, to get team members involved, and to have a support staff. We've all got the same 168 hours in a week, right? It's how we use that time, how we allocate that time. Maybe it means you're going to watch a little less Netflix. Maybe it means you're going to watch or surf a little less on the social media. But the point is, if you dedicate 40 hours to work, if you dedicate 8 hours of sleep each night, which I know some of us are thinking 8 hours, I can't remember the last time I got 8 hours of sleep. And some of you are thinking 8 hours, I need 10, whatever it happens to be, full-time job, sleeping and eating, you'll still have over 40 hours a week. Trust me, if you do the math, it'll work for you as well. So in closing, I really challenge you to think about how you can take your next step in leadership, whether that's an area director role, a different district role, a division director, whatever it happens to be. The opportunity that you have to step up and to expand into a bigger leadership role, to stretch that comfort zone and not worrying about how any excuse will work, right? We have our own self-doubts, we have our fears, we have our insecurities, but if you're looking for an excuse, any of them will work. But instead of focusing your time and energy on those excuses, think about how we can make it work. The answer is always going to be no unless you ask. It's the second leadership nugget, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. You're not always going to get a yes, but you might be surprised who's willing to help you or put you in touch with somebody else who can help you in whatever you happen to need. And the last nugget of leadership is the 168, and that's the 168 hours in a week. We've got a lot of time. If we allocate our time correctly and can use it effectively, you've got so much more out there than you think you do. It's been my pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Giovanna. Thank you very much.
All right, incredible session and story, Eric. Let's see those emoticons. Let them know you're out there. Turn your cameras on. Give them some jazz hands. Give them some love. Give them some love, because I know if you were speaking, you'd want some love too. So well done, Eric. As I was listening to your story, it was reminding me of when I stepped into the role of district governor. When I was elected to that role a month prior, I was promoted to a position to run Mattel's outlet stores, national outlet chain. And I did not have any experience in retail. I always worked in an office. I'd never worked in a hotel, a restaurant, a retail store. And they really took a chance on me because of what they had seen me doing in Toastmasters. But the thing is, it was learning a full-time job in retail, having 6 direct reports, 40 people under me, another 100 in the peak season, plus stepping in the role of district director as well, or district governor back then. And so when we talk about time being a consideration and we talk about our priorities, when we focus on the goal, when we focus on what we're trying to accomplish and really key in on what's on the other side of all of those considerations, if those things don't feel better, if you're not excited to be a better speaker or better leader, or to tweak those things that you feel aren't effective about you, or to strengthen a relationship that you have, if those things aren't more exciting than the inconveniences, than the obstacles, than the struggles that you may get to experience on the way there, where there is so much growth, by the way, available in that journey. If the end result isn't as exciting for you, of course, it's going to be easy to stay in those considerations and not expand that comfort zone. So find something that is exciting for you, what you'll get to learn, what will be different as a result of choosing to step into your elevated leadership opportunities. And so we're going to move into our panel discussion where we're going to talk just about those things. And so we've assembled an all-star cast, just like we have for the rest of the agenda, for our panelist discussion on what it would be like serving in the role of area director. And hopefully we're going to demystify some things for you, right? Because who's heard, oh, all you have to do is a couple club visits and put on a contest and you're done. Listen, if it was that easy, people will be doing it all the time and there probably isn't that much to learn. So why are we doing it, right? Because you guys pay good money to be here. So let's suck the life out of Toastmasters. What can we get from it? And so let's look in to who we have speaking today. Now, my ask is this. Each person, I'm going to introduce them, and then we'll come back and they'll share a little bit about their story. And then we're going to open it up for questions. Then we'll have a breakout session where you get to go into rooms, and each of the panelists is going to host their own session where you can have a little bit more of an intimate encounter and ask any questions you may have, and they may have some questions for you. Now, we're all Toastmasters, and I'm going to be willing to bet that at least once, but probably more than once, you've been in a club meeting where the topic master comes up and tells their theme and their shtick and might have a question, and then they'll say, who wants to respond? And there is dead silence, right? It's like right now with all the videos off, there's dead silence. I don't know what's happening. But people, you paid money to be here. Suck the life out of it. Get the value out of the dollars. Only you could do it. So ask questions of our panelists, even if you don't think that you would become an area director in the next year, let's say. Put those thinking caps on, work on those impromptu speaking skills, those impromptu listening, all of those pieces. This is where we apply it. It's so easy to just sit in our meeting and absorb it, but map it on. Here's where we have the chance. So let's bring up our panelists. Our first panelist is Eleanor Oliver Edmonds, who began her Toastmasters journey in May 2016 when she joined her corporate club at Mattel. She served as club president in 2017 to 2018 and helped lead her club to achieve the coveted President's Distinguished designation. She went on to serve as an area director in District 1 from 2019 to 2020, during which she created Pathways with Purpose, a workshop designed to help the clubs in her area enroll, engage, and excel using Pathways curriculum. Having achieved Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Leader Bronze, EC4, MS1, and all those fun alphabet soup letters, she is now focusing on achieving her DTM. Eleanor attributes her growth as a writer, speaker, and certified virtual coach to her leadership roles she held in Toastmasters. So give up some emoticon love for Eleanor Oliver Edmonds. Are you there, Eleanor? Let's get a little spotlight. There she is. Hi, Eleanor. Moving on, we have panelist number 2, Randy Nguyen, current director for Area 41 and president of Club 832 West Seattle. Previously served as area director for Area 42 just a year ago. So back-to-back terms as an area director, incredible. He's held every club office except treasurer with Speak Out Seattle Advanced Toastmasters Club. As a retired computer programmer and attorney, Randy currently hosts bi-monthly webinars on law, peace, and human rights through the Washington State Bar Association section of Peace Through Law, for which Toastmasters provides exceptional training. So please give some love out to Randy. Panelist number 3 is, as a member of District 1 Toastmasters in Southern California for over 17 years, distinguished Toastmaster Sonia Vazquez has served in several leadership roles, including area and division governor and district public relations manager. In her professional life, she is Chief Operating Officer for Community Health Councils in Los Angeles and has over 23 years of experience in program design and management, contract compliance, facilitation, policy analysis and advocacy, stakeholder engagement, and translating complex issues to diverse audiences. She is humbled to have been able to present at statewide conferences, provide expert testimony at legislative hearings, speak at press events, and interview with the media. She owes all of this and her ability to get her message across, be prepared for any question, plan for complex initiatives, lead teams, and supervise staff to the skills she has acquired by serving in Toastmasters. So please give a nice D2 welcome to distinguished Toastmaster Sonia Vazquez. Panelist number 4, in June of 2006, Stephanie Hooper reluctantly joined Toastmasters. The reluctance gradually transformed into recognizing the value of the program. As she noticed, things started to change in her professional and personal life. She's a member of Burlington Better Speakers and Skagit Valley Speakers. Over the past 15 years, she has served in every club officer role in both of those clubs, and many times more than once. She has served District 2 as an area governor and as Division A director. Stephanie has been awarded 5 Triple Crowns, 2016 Toastmaster of the Year, and most recently for her work with the Toastmaster Rotary Alliance Committee, the Spark Plug Award. Please share those jazz hands and emoticons for the reluctant to the enriched, distinguished Toastmaster, Stephanie Hooper. And panelist number 5. Marcia Yamanaka joined Toastmasters in March 2013 to practice English because English is not her first language. As a member of New Horizons, a breakfast time club in Riverside, California, Marcia served in every club officer role but sergeant at arms, but only because she had absolutely no storage in her car. By participating in training events like TLI, she learned about opportunities beyond the club and also met one of her longtime mentors, Darren Kui, who she then had the honor of getting to serve together as assistant area director in 2016. Since then, she has served District 12 Division E Director in 2017, District 100 Public Relations Manager, District 100 Speakers Bureau PR Coordinator, and District 100 Administration Manager just last year in 2020. Last year, she sponsored her Dream Club Virtual Masters and is currently serving as its first club president. Marcia attributes finding her voice and long life friends in Toastmasters, but this only happened because she took action outside of her club. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Marcia Yamanaka. There she is. All right, all 5 panelists are introduced. You know who's going to get to speak with you. And so we're going to go one by one, and they're just going to share a couple minutes, a little bit about their journey. And then we're going to have some Q&A. So please, as you're listening, jot down some notes. What do you hear? What do you key in on? What maybe doesn't sound right to you that you'd like clarification on? Let's make this a robust conversation at the end, really casual. So Eleanor, we introduced first as our first panelist. So Eleanor, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, or I guess it's still morning. Good morning, Toastmasters. It's such a pleasure to be here to share my journey with you. I served as area director in District 1 from 2019 to 2020. I loved the community and culture of Toastmasters. I wanted to level up my leadership skills, so I accepted the role, I accepted the opportunity to become an area director. One of the things that I did not anticipate during that time was that we were going to go into this pandemic and everything would shut down. So I was moving along, doing my club visits, establishing a great rapport with my club, my 6 clubs. And when the pandemic hit, it was right at the height of contest season. So in addition to getting the club visits underway, trying to get contests, everything shuts down and we go into a virtual format. One thing I admire about Toastmasters and the community is how quickly we can galvanize together and pivot so that we can have a smooth transition. And that's precisely what happened. We were able to support one another, connect with our teams, keep everyone engaged so that despite everything crumbling around us, we still had Toastmasters. And it's one of the highlights for me as well, because with everything that was so uncertain during that time, I did have one thing in place that I knew was going to be what I expected, and that was Toastmasters, whether it was our weekly meetings or visiting the clubs. One of the things that I did learn as an area director, in addition to learning how to pivot, reach out and ask for help from our other area directors, was also looking at how to build other leaders. Each club has its own personality, and I did have some favorites. Some clubs had challenges, but all of those challenges allowed me to step up, step out of my comfort zone and become a much better leader. I learned how to be compassionate, empathetic, a solutionary. It taught me to grow and to support others in their growth. It wasn't an easy journey. I'm not going to say that it was. It's not as easy as, club visits, and you just show up and everyone is happy to see you. It takes some work. The Pathways with Purpose program that I had created, it arose out of seeing a need. Clubs weren't engaging with pathways. Some were still using the old communication manuals and resisting pathways. So we've had this old guard, new guard going on. And so what I found was when I related pathways to skills outside of Toastmasters, I shared anecdotes about how a pastor that I knew in Toastmasters used Toastmasters to create his sermons. When I showed people, the team leaders in these different clubs, how to use pathways so that it relates to what people are doing outside of their clubs. Many of the clubs that I called on were corporate clubs. It was kind of in our local area. But once we were able to show them how to use their skills, how to transfer these skills from Toastmasters to their outside world, that's when things began to shift. So that's why I had my 3 E's with the Pathways with Purpose: engage, empower, excel. Being an area director, you are going to grow in ways that you can't even anticipate, but you're going to develop relationships with other area directors, other Toastmaster leaders. I have friendships that I've made through these connections that continue. I feel like when we were going through the pandemic and working together, that galvanized these relationships to just become fast friends even faster. You're going to be called on to stretch, like I said, stretch out of your comfort zone, and that's a good thing. When I look back at this whole journey, I thought I was going to be calling on clubs. I thought I was just going to show up, people would be happy to see me, perhaps give a speech, smile, and leave. And what I gained is I became a much better leader, a much better communicator. And that did spill over into my other roles at work. People noticed my confidence. As a speaker, I would show up differently. And one of the other things that I really think it's also helped me with relationships, because building these relationships, working with people through different circumstances, working through a pandemic, but you will grow. And it's a fast, rapid growth that I feel like had I not taken this route and become area director, I can't even imagine what I would have to do to have that type of growth in a short period of time. So if you're thinking about it, really put yourself out there. And if you think that you're not ready, I would challenge you to step into the role and say yes to being an area director, because what you gain at the end is worth every bit of it. And when we have a breakout session, I'm happy to elaborate and answer any other questions. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, Eleanor, for kicking off our panel. So many good nuggets in there. So many good nuggets. I appreciate when we're real about the experience, right? Because there are going to be some moments where we're going to feel like, hey, why am I even doing this? I got other things to do, right? Eric told us Toastmasters isn't in the top 3 priorities. But it's the realness that keeps us engaged. It's what's available on the other side of those considerations. That's a lot more powerful than the journey to get there, those inconvenient parts of the journey. So thank you so much for kicking us off. We're going to hand over to Randy and hear a little bit about his story. So Randy, what have you for us?
Thank you, Giovanna. And thank you, Toastmasters and friends, for asking me this question, because it compelled me to reflect upon my experience, which I honestly had not. Outside of Toastmasters, I had frankly stumbled into being the leader of a club of clubs. That is, attorneys in Washington State formed voluntary associations of people interested in providing a supportive environment for developing skills in a particular subject matter, such as family law or taxes. Now that phrase, providing a supportive environment for members to support each other in developing skills, does that sound at all familiar? Because we say that at the beginning of every Toastmasters meeting. As a club leader, a lot of what I learned from Toastmasters was directly applicable to my outside of Toastmasters activities. That was super useful. But these 29 associations in Washington State, interconnecting, discovered we have some common problems. We have issues with legislation, with leadership, newsletters, all sorts of common problems. So let's form a club of clubs. Let's get together on a regular basis and support each other in working these things out. Since I had the internet license, I became the leader and led our monthly meetings. And in providing this leadership, I discovered some problems I was having, and I couldn't quite figure them out till I got this area director role, and suddenly became sort of the leader of a club of clubs. Because what is an area but a club of clubs? Our client, as area directors, ultimately we're always there to serve members, right? We're there to help the members. And the way we do it at the club level is face-to-face, talking to the 10 to 30 members of our club. But at the club level, or area director level, excuse me, our clients are the clubs. So we do things to help the clubs move along. And that's directly analogous to things which happen in other roles in our life, like my legal stuff. Now, this is great because number one, the area director role has a whole lot of supportive tools, lots of instructional materials. We've got this meeting today. Number two, you've got all these connections to help you out. When you got a problem, ask people. People love to help you out. But number three, in getting better at leading a club of clubs, there's no substitute for experience, right? You have to stumble, bruise your knees, get up, do better. So I hope that you can take your experience as area director and not only help your clubs, but help your experience in other environments. I know that the light is red, but I got to point out, when you're a club leader, you're helping your club members, 4 to 30 people. But when you're an area director, you're helping the club help their members, which means that everything you do improves the lives of 100, 200 people. And that is a good day. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Randy. Not only is it a good day, you will never be able to measure the impact that you have. So if you think about skipping a rock on a lake and all those ripples, you may impact as a club officer your members, but your members are going to go interact with family members, co-workers, community members, and how they're behaving is a direct result of what you're doing, which is a direct result of the training. You'll never be able to count the impact. It's such a beautiful thing. So stand strong in that. And Sonia is going to take us as our next panelist and share a little bit about her story.
Thank you so much, Giovanna. Now, at the time when I was an area director, it actually wasn't called that. It was called area governor. This was I did the 2007-2008 term. And that was actually 3 years into my time as a Toastmaster. And as I had to prepare for today, I realized that there were 3 things that I really learned that still have impact on my life today outside of Toastmasters. The first is assessing every situation. When I took on the role, I had to take time to understand my clubs. I didn't know all of them. I needed to understand what motivated them, what were their challenges, their successes, who were the key members, because sometimes it's not just the officers, right? Sometimes there's other people in the club that you should be engaging with. And what I did, and I always encourage area directors to do, is do at least 2 visits. Don't just do the mandatory 1 visit, right? The required 1 visit. Do at least 2 visits. One where you're coming in and getting to know everybody, and then the official visit, and the second 6 months too. Another getting to know where they are at that point, and then the official visit. I would help when I could. I would, connect with the officers when I could, come and support club events. Outside of Toastmasters, I always take that on. Every time I'm in a new situation or I'm running a new project or a new program, I spend time assessing the landscape. Where might there be pitfalls? Who do I need to connect with in order for me to be successful? The second is planning and preparation. I was not even a year into a new job at that when I started this term. And just piggybacking on what Eric said earlier, I always tell people you're a leader in Toastmasters to be a leader outside of Toastmasters, right? And so I needed to make sure that my work wasn't jeopardized, and I wanted to make sure I did a good job as an area governor. So I spent time planning, making sure that I knew what my timelines were, what resources I need, and who I needed to connect with. Today, I don't do anything until I spend some time planning. I don't know if every district does this, but in District 1, we have our workbook for every time we do contests and events. And I create a similar thing for any event that I do, so I know exactly what my event is going to look like. I use roles, the role sheets that we create, just to make sure that I'm well prepared for what I'm going to engage in. And the third is relationships are important. I think Evelyn talked about this earlier. I made sure to help and support my other area governors in my division and outside as much as I could, help and support my clubs. And those are all relationships that I can count on today. When I supported somebody, they were able to support me then. And even, what am I at, 17 years later in Toastmasters? And that's true outside of Toastmasters. It's so important to have those relationships and be able to have that first before you start the work. It's not going to be an easy path. You may not see the benefits while you're doing it, but just like our speech paths, you get what you get out of it, what you put into it. And I encourage you to make sure you assess as much as you can, make sure you spend time to plan and build your relationships. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you so much, Sonia. I couldn't help but notice you keyed in on District 1's contest book as one of my favorite tools that we have is the Contest Manager, which has all the step-by-steps that you need to put on a contest, all the tools right there in one little booklet. And similar to you, I use the same thing in my event planning outside of Toastmasters once we developed that a few years ago. So thank you for bringing up that tool. It's fantastic. And it's free. All right, let's move on to our next panelist. Stephanie, what is in your world when you were serving?
Well, my journey definitely has been one of reluctance every step of the way. My husband belonged to Burlington Better Speakers before I did. And in June of 2006, they needed one more member to be distinguished. And he thought it'd be a good idea if it was me. And I didn't think that was a very good idea. But as I reflected on it, I thought, yes, I'll give this a chance on one condition. I'll join in June, but I won't attend a meeting till September because there was no way I was going to let Toastmasters ruin my summer. Now, my plan was to do 10 speeches and leave. But along the way, something happened. Toastmasters, I began to reap the rewards and benefits of what I was experiencing. George Nguyen, past international president of Toastmasters, he said that many of us come to Toastmasters as takers, but along the way, we become givers. So why did I say yes to being an area governor, director? I said yes because I knew it was time to make that next reluctant move and take on and be a giver outside my club. But the interesting thing that I learned along the way was that being a giver, you also get. You get to grow. You get to experience leadership outside your club, see how other clubs work, get to meet members like Eric talked about in his presentation. I had lived in a very small club-only world. It broadened it, and you get to do just what we're here for, to elevate your leadership experience. So yes, as area director, governor, there were things that come up, more time, your responsibilities are greater outside your Toastmaster world, your club. And there are clubs that struggle that you will have to give a little extra support to. But overall, I'd say every effort is worth it. And it's a win-win for everyone. Now, the biggest lesson I have learned in every step of my reluctance is that fear is never a reason to say no to leadership opportunities, because fear will hold you back. It has held me back many times, and stepping out makes the changes. So bravely saying yes to leadership opportunities opens opportunities to enrich your life. What we gain and get in leadership is transferable to every area of our lives, personally and professionally. I will say that without my Toastmaster leadership experience, I would never have said yes to giving back to my community. I said yes to being chair for the Boys and Girls Club of Skagit County. I said yes to being president of my Rotary Club, and none of those things would happen if I had not taken the experience of area director. So I encourage you to take the next step and consider being an area director when the opportunity comes up, and say yes to being a giver who gets.
Oh, what a beautiful ending, Stephanie. I love that. I want that to be the theme, the giver who gets. That's so powerful. As we move into our fifth panelist, right? When I introduced Marcia, you may have heard that she was an assistant area director. So sometimes we may not always necessarily be ready to take on the full area director role, but assistant is also a critical step where much can be learned. And then if you continue to hear in her introduction, she went on to serve as a division director and in critical roles like public relations and district administration manager. So it can still be a powerful springboard to many other things. And so Marcia's going to offer us a little bit of a different perspective. So Marcia, take it away.
Thank you, Giovanna. Good morning, District 2. It's a pleasure to be here and share with you what happened to me. I was a reluctant Toastmaster as well. Stephanie can relate there. But my reluctance was because English is not my first language. And I wanted to be as articulate as Americans are. And there was no other way other than going to this coffee shop, Panera Bread, in Riverside Plaza every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And that's where I stayed for 3 years. It took me 1 year to get through 10 speeches. I was actually introverted, had to be pushed. So what happened to me was I got to the same point as our speaker, the first speaker. Do I want a DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster designation or not? You know, because I didn't know if there was anything in serving outside the club for me. I never left my club for 3 years. I didn't even know that it was allowed, you know. And in one of these meetings, like this TLI, I heard a speaker named Darren Quee, and I think it was a contest. I tried to experience everything once, okay? It was in a contest, I heard him speak. And then I called him. I need to be a volunteer in the district to have a DTM. I don't know what is this about. Can I shadow you? And he said, oh, I need an assistant. And that's how I became an assistant director to an area director. And I shadowed him for 6 months. And it was amazing. It was amazing because of him. I went to other clubs. I saw other club presidents, other VPMs, and I saw the culture. And I could see the best practices and share best practices. It is such an interesting role that I want to go back. That's my role to be when I go back, but I have to experience everything once, and there are other things I need to do first. There's never going to be a good time. Okay, so you make it. 1 year go very fast. Just ask yourself, if not now, when? Madam Toastmaster.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marcia. That's such a powerful way to end. If not now, then when? Tomorrow is not promised, right? And it's kind of like jury duty. It never seems to be a good time. And if you don't take it when it first comes up, sometimes the reschedule is worse than the original. So jump in now. Tomorrow is not promised. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? Because someone is out there waiting to hear your story. And if we remember that ripple effect, You never know who could need to hear your message that day. So I want to acknowledge we're just a smidge behind. So I'm going to only ask a couple questions because I'd rather get into our breakout rooms where you can have a little bit more of an intimate time with your particular host and get your questions answered or just hear a little bit more of each other's stories. So one thing that came up for me as I'm listening to our panelists share their stories is it's not all rosy, right? So what was it like? And if something comes up really quickly, so just jump in real quick. But during your area director year or area governor year, did you feel that you had the support that you needed, either from your district trio or your division governor, division director, right? Because it's quite a bit of work. So do you feel that you have the support that you needed to make your journey? Does anyone have a story that they want to share really quickly?
I could jump in. I mean, yes, I did feel like I had support from district leadership. Was it enough? Probably not. And so for me, it was really important to also have other support systems, right? Like my mentors, my coaches, other people that I could go to. Our district leaders were also busy with others, right? With other area directors and other district business. And so I don't know that they were always as available as I probably would have needed. But that's why it's super important that I had that network of other Toastmasters that had come up with me, that had, brought me into Toastmasters, had been mentors and coaches to me along the way, so that I could be able to bounce ideas and question and ask them questions about how they did and what their experiences were.
Great. Thank you so much, Sonia. Anyone else? Real quick story. We'll move on to the next piece. From our panelists. No, all right, good deal. So for each of you, really quickly, what is your favorite application where you've taken something you learned in Toastmasters and you've applied it somewhere else in your life, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in your community? And it could be anything. Like I learned how to accept feedback. I learned how to deal with rejection. Or I learned how to delegate, and just give us a snippet of the actual application, right? Not necessarily what it was, but just digging deep a little bit so we can relate to you a little bit more. So I'm just going to go in order with the panelists as I see them on my screen. So Randy, I'm going to start with you.
Well, believe it or not, it was agendas. I've been to so many organizations where they didn't do agendas and minutes. So a year later, no one could remember what they'd done. It may sound obvious, but that's a really important thing. Oh, the other thing is learning how to stay calm during a disaster and keep talking. 6 months ago, I was hosting a program with 300 people signed up through something not Zoom. Our speaker was calling in from a university in Eastern Europe. And I'm talking with her, getting ready. I've got my 3-minute introduction all ready to go. And I swear, 15 seconds to noon, she says, "Oh my God, this phone is out of electricity. I'll have to find another," and hangs up. Tick. Welcome to our... I made that 3-minute introduction go 4 minutes and 10 seconds till I got click and turned over to our speaker. And thank you, Toastmasters.
Thank you. Patience, calm, resourcefulness, all came into play right there. Good deal. Stephanie, you're the next window on our row here. How about you?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, share with us an example of where you applied the Toastmasters training and learning as your area director, or maybe it's somewhere else in Toastmasters, where you saw it had a direct impact in somewhere else in your life.
Absolutely. I shared it in my message here, and that is being able to lead and lead confidently and use the skills from Toastmasters. I would never have said yes to being president of my Rotary Club and what it involves and what it requires in there. So there's everything and all that I experienced as a area director have been directly applied to my life. Being chair of a Boys and Girls Club board was another unique opportunity that came up. And when they came up, I would never have said yes if it had not been for my experience in Toastmasters, including area director and division director.
Awesome, thank you. Eleanor.
Thank you. One of the things that I've taken away from Toastmasters and I apply in my coaching business, at work, Toastmasters is such a supportive and encouraging community. I believe that our leaders see leadership in others before they see it in themselves. And when you make that connection and you guide someone into leadership who thinks that they're not ready, but you see that they are and that you know inside they're capable, that individual feels seen. And every time I applied that in the clubs that I was visiting, I could just see these light bulbs, like someone felt seen for the first time. They felt valued. So that's one of the takeaways that I've had from Toastmasters.
Awesome. I love the soft skills. I love the personal skills that you shared with us. Marcia, what about you?
Oh, for me, what I learned is it doesn't hurt to ask. And there's always a way to put words together that make your persuasive enough. I love the contest seasons. For me, putting those together was intense. And the lessons learned there is everything can be organized, everything can run in a way that it makes a memorable, emotional, positive impression in everybody who comes across it. And that's the power of being in positions where you can both experiment and see the results right away. Yeah. So a lot of lessons that you can extrapolate to your personal and professional life. And the opportunities are right there. It just make one decision to grab it. And I tell you again, 1 year goes so fast, you wish you had more time.
Yes, indeed. Just like our panel discussion right now. Sonia, what about you? Share something with us that you feel you can really see how you apply it in your non-Toastmasters world. That's powerful.
I'm a big believer in the evaluation component of Toastmasters. And just like in a club, if you give someone an evaluation that is not well done, you could really scar them and they will never come back to the club, right? We see this is true, I think, in our leadership activities as well. If we give people good feedback, quality feedback, not whitewash feedback, but like what they really could improve on, where they did well, they will come back and be better leaders every time. And for me, I've been a supervisor for almost all my career, and I use those skills, and while in Toastmasters, I learned how to be a better supervisor, provide better evaluations, provide more quality feedback to my staff. And I see it in how they improve. And I know when I don't give good feedback, I can see how they don't improve and they don't get any better. And so feedback, evaluation, super important, not just for speaking, but as a leader as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Feedback is where growth is, right? When you're really a stand for someone and your come from is to help them get better, we really look to share things that you say, hey, you might want to consider X, Y, and Z that could get you to the next level, that could have someone experience you differently. And so it's not always the value in the whitewash thing. It's like spinach in your teeth and you're going on a date of a lifetime or a job interview and someone doesn't want to tell you because you're going to get embarrassed and you walk in with spinach in your teeth. So don't let them walk in with spinach in their teeth. All right, great deal. We've heard a little bit of insight and I want to get you guys into the breakout room so you can have a little bit more of an intimate discussion. So you are going to be sent to a room. Each of our 5 panelists will host a room, as well as Eric, our kickoff speaker, will be in one. Tina's going to be in one and I will be in one as well, so we can keep our group small and chatty and conversational. My ask is, when you go in, please take what you heard or things that you've heard out in the world and ask some questions about it. And if our panelist, our host, wouldn't mind kicking things off with sharing, and some of you have alluded to it already in your responses or your introductory story, but where were you before Toastmasters or serving as an area director, area governor? versus where you are now, right? Like, what were you like in the beginning? Where are you now? That might be beneficial for those considering it. Or I see many people who have area director currently in their title that might keep them going on their journey as well. So if our Zoom master would please Zoom us into the breakout rooms.
2-minute warning, and at 3.5 minutes, we were still in our room. So we thought, okay, we maybe are supposed to leave.
The rooms are actually closing.
Okay.
They were auto set to 7 minutes. Maybe I sent the 2-minute message too early.
We are back. Hey, everybody. I love to see little pop up, like popcorn shares. All right. So really quickly, I hope that was a fun session for you. You got to know your person a little bit better, maybe had some thoughts around what you want to be doing. So really quickly, just maybe 2, 3, got to be quick about it, right? We're Toastmasters. Let's pay attention on our time this time as we get us back on track. But was there anything that you learned or something that now has you considering something different or just a gold nugget that you're going to take away from this? And we're going to do it popcorn share style. And so what popcorn share style is if you think about popcorn, you put that bag in the microwave, or if you're old school and you got the little thing, you know, on your stove, they pop really fast, pop, pop, pop. So a popcorn share is just that. Don't tell us all the details, just really quickly. I learned that, yada, 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 and now I can't wait to go do it, or I'm really going to consider it. So that fast. So who would like to share something that was a takeaway from either the panelists, what they said, or maybe your breakout room? And remember, do not treat this like table topics where it's dead silence.
I'll be happy to start. It's
Please.
Victoria. Sorry, I hope I enjoy really hearing all the stories, especially in our breakout sessions, about how much being in Toastmasters and being an area director, the community building, confidence building, how much it's helped them personally, professionally. Hearing all the different stories has been quite inspiring to me.
Good deal. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else? Really quick, popcorn share.
I think Judy was going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say that one thing I learned from my breakout session, it can help to be an assistant area director before you take on the role itself and learn from an area director. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal. Looks like Dan, Dan will be our last one. Dan, you have your hand up, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to second that. Actually, I put my hand up before she said it, and my hand was already up. But I think that should be. I think that should be publicized a little more. Like, I've been a Toastmaster for years, and I had no idea that there was an assistant AD role. So that's good to know. Something I might look into, since I don't feel like I can really commit to an AD role right now, but could maybe help somebody that's in that role.
It's an informal
absolutely
role, but good.
That explains why if it's new, that explains why I hadn't heard.
Publicized. Yeah, it's informal, but it is good to do.
Yeah, I would also say it kind of varies from district to district as well, as districts are growing and leaders are changing and so forth. So it could vary. But yeah, great. So thank you all for participating. Another round of applause for our 5 panelists. Give them some love, give them some hearts, give them whatever that's good, positive. I'm going to give them all that feedback. All right, let's see. We're going to go into a break, but before we go into a break, we have one announcement really quickly from Karen Lizon. Is Karen with us? Who's our Speaker Bureau Chair?
I'm here. Yeah, I've got my
Hi.
other hat on as chair of the Advanced Trading Committee, and I just wanted to announce very quickly we're getting into the contest season, and which gives us an opportunity to grow, not just for the speakers, but for those who volunteer and step up to help out with the contest. So 2 trainings this month. First one, Wednesday, November 17th, speech contest training for contestants and judges. Let's get on the same page. That's being brought to us by Lee Amatangelo, and he's going to share his insights on making you a winner, whether you are a contestant or a judge. The second one is the very next night, Thursday, November 18th. The Vital Basics, Communication and Coordination. This is brought to us by Baxter Kent and Teresa Lindahl, and they will be helping us learn how to run a contest as a chief judge and as a contest chair to make your speech contest fun and a smooth experience. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Karen. Karen, well done. Okay, let's check in with everybody. So we're gonna do a break before we come back and go into our club officer training sessions. So if we did an 8-minute break, would that support everybody? Is that enough time for a bio break, get some water refresh, do whatever you need to do, 8 minutes? Okay, so let's do an 8-minute break. We could ask our timekeeper extraordinaire, where is Bob? Somewhere on my screen. If you wouldn't mind putting 8 minutes on the clock, and we'll be back at whatever that turns out to be for 8 minutes. I can't do the math with my one good eye here, but we'll put a timing on the screen. So if you want to check back at that time. So my time right now is 10:47. 8 minutes from now, we will see you back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, everybody. All right, thank you, District 2. Complete with sound effects. All right, let's see if we can turn off those fabulous sound effects. Unless, of course, that's someone's fire extinguisher sound, fire alarm going on. Oh, all right. Does anyone know where the sound is coming from? I don't have a highlighted video.
Your system. You're the only one unmuted.
Is it? It's not. Minor clicking. Clicking, nothing's happening. Well, it's off now. But anyway, so let's carry on. How was break? What did we have? What did we do? We get snacks, nuts. Still, it's almost lunchtime. All right, we're getting into the heart of our session today. I hope so far you've been finding a lot of value in finding yourself in some of these stories and some things that you can relate to, and possibly where you will be applying some of these in your life coming up. One of the things I was sharing in my breakout room is how when I was in district leadership, that I had direct access to the CEO of Mattel. And never in a million years did I think I was on track to getting to have lunch with him, getting to meet him on several occasions in his office, and then him giving the keynote speech at the awards and installation banquet where I was installed as the district governor, where he sat with me at the head table all day after his executive assistant had told me he was only coming to give his speech and then he'd be leaving. And so it's those moments that we can't plan for, that we don't know are going to be possible until we jump in and say yes and select those things that are really aligned with what we want to do. So as you go into your breakout session for your respective officer training, really look to see things through a different eye. If this is a role you've served in before, or you're a longtime member, is what else is available for me? Even though it may seem like there's nothing, because you've done it all, you've seen it all, you've heard every excuse, but really my offer is there's probably still something more. And if you're in it for the first time, ask lots of questions, observe as much as you can, network, get contact information for people, and really hone your network and make it an amazing experience. So let me hand it over to Tina, who's going to give you a little bit of the logistical pieces on what's going to happen for this next bit of time that we are together.
Thank you, Giovanna. All right, Kevin, let's show them the slides. Dun, dun, dun. Breakout rooms, yay. Next slide. So what's going to happen is you are going to look at the bottom of your Zoom screen. you're going to click the little block that says Breakout Rooms. And in there, you will be able to choose to join the breakout room that you want to do the training for. So there's President, VPE, VPM, those are all labeled. If you are unable to move yourself into a breakout room, then type into the chat the room that you would like to go into. We will get you moved to that room as quickly as possible. But if you are able to choose your room, please do choose that room. Watch the broadcast chat messages. And if you need help while you're in your room, please use the help button. All right, I think we are ready. You can click on the breakout rooms. Trainers, please let us know ASAP if you have trouble getting in there, and everybody can go into their rooms. And Kevin, we have one, I don't know if you've seen it, that needs to go into president.
He is already moved.
Awesome, thank you. You are so good. So remember, if you're having trouble getting moved into your room, put it into chat and we will get you moved as soon as possible. If you don't see, okay, there we go.
Hello. I'm unable to share my screen in my breakout room.
Okay.
Okay, it's fixed.
Fixed. Thank you.
You're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What room do you want to go into?
Okay, sorry, I'm driving, so it's a little challenging. Is there a IPPR room?
The immediate past president?
Yes.
Yes. Is that where you'd like to go?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You got that, Kevin?
Got
there we go.
that.
Thank you.
Done.
Hi, Tina. I got a question. So I'm training in the president's room, but I don't have sharing capability.
You should be able to now.
Okay, I'll hop back in. Thank you.
Yep.
Move my presentation to that's what Roxy is, that one.
So Debbie wants to go into president. Gregory wants to go into VPE. Dana, are you there? Anu? So they must.
All right, welcome back, everyone. How was it? Good? Excited? All right, we're almost there, but we're not there yet. A few things left to wrap up, but I would love to hear a little bit about your feedback, your experience on your training. So if you wouldn't mind just popping it in a chat, was there something that you learned? Was there a golden gem, something you can't wait to apply or try out? Let's get some dialogue happening in our chat to just share, because not everybody got to be in our respective sessions. And I'll leave you with one thought. If it's not customary in your particular club to do this, think about the possibility of it. At your next executive meeting, club board meeting, ask each of the club officers to give a little bit of an update about what they learned from their training. And for some clubs, this may be too early in November. I know in my district, this would be really early training for us. So maybe not everyone has been able to attend training, but make sure you make it a habit of sharing what you learned so that way all the club officers can get as much on the same page as possible of what the role and expectation is from a fundamental perspective. So it has been an incredible joy to get to spend a Saturday morning with District 2, learn a little bit about your lives in the Toastmasters world, what you're hoping to accomplish, and a little bit about what you're looking to translate and apply from your Toastmasters experience into other areas of your life. I appreciate the chats popping up. There's some great stories in there, so keep them coming, keep them coming. I'm going to return control to our program quality director, Tina Tate, and she is going to close us out. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Giovanna. Wow, what a great training, great information. I appreciate your energy and all of the information that you've shared with us today. Big, big thank you from me and from the trio as well. I'm speaking for them, so. Now I would like to introduce you to our Speakers Bureau Chair, Angela Barris. She has a few announcements or an announcement for us. And Angela, take it away.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or who the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. Theodore Roosevelt. We're gathering a team of skilled speakers to speak at demo meetings, open houses, and other meetings where guest speakers can beef things up. These meetings are full of people who are real people, real lives, real problems, real dreams. And they want to hear speeches that inspire, that motivate, and even entertain. Do you have a speech that inspires, motivates, and entertains? Are you open and receptive to feedback to up-level your speaking? Do you pride yourself in responding to communications quickly? If you answered yes to these questions, your district leaders are interested in working with you. You're the exact match for the kind of speakers we would love to put in touch with meeting planners. Now, as far as your club goes, would you like to increase some excitement, some interest, some intrigue, and possibly even grow your club? For both of these reasons, reach out to me. It's kind of like I'm a speaking agent, and I get you speaking gigs and I get you speakers. And so reach out, let's talk about the possibilities of you applying for the Speakers Bureau, the possibilities of you being matched with a great speaker who can up-level your club. My name's Angela Barris. My contact number is in the Starburst every week. And let's just get started and have some fun. I hope to hear from you if you feel like you're a good match for what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. And now, Kevin, if you can pop that link in that we shared earlier. And not the assessment one, but this is for the one that Heather shared with us earlier. And Roxy Stimson, our immediate past district director, I believe has some things to share with us. Did you have something to say, Roxy? If no.
I believe that was Heather, right? Heather, let me speak.
Heather, were you going to make the announcement about the nominations?
We arranged it, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I had it confused.
No worry.
That's all right. Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for being at this amazing training. Thank you to all the trainers that made this possible. This was a fantastic event. and we're very excited about the year to come. You know, we're just coming into looking at what the second half of this year is going to look like in just a couple of months, and we're planning for how we're going to finish out this year, but we're also starting to take a look at what are we going to do next year. And each of us have the role that we have this year, and we know that we want to stretch ourselves. We want to push ourselves to that next level, and we want to do something a little bit more challenging to elevate those skills that we're working on right now. And so we'd like to announce the call for nominations for next year. I know everybody's still thinking, I've barely even gotten this year under control. How could I even be thinking about next year already? But we're just planting a little seed. We're getting you thinking about it. Hey, what would be the next step for you, right? Only you know what's the next step for you. So you need to start thinking about it now. Like, if this is your first time as an area director and you're just starting to get it figured out, maybe the next step is to serve a second year as an area director. Or maybe you've got this area director role down and you're ready to be the division director. Maybe you have a busy commitment and you're like, you know, I would really kill that dues renewal chair role and I would get those dues paid, right? We have big and small roles across the district, and we just want you to start thinking about them and raise your hand, put your name in the hat to be called. The link that was put in the chat is a website that the web page Roxy put together on our website with all the information you need to know. All the forms that you need to fill out are there. Her email address is available for you to reach out, ask questions. And so we'd love to hear from you if you have questions about this, but we'd love to have you put your name forward for next year's leadership role. So thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to Tina.
Thank you, Heather. Great segue into my part. So I'm going to tell you all a little bit about me. I am the executive director of a nonprofit, and my job is about 60 plus hours a week. We just opened a brand new homeless shelter, and I'm in the process of remodeling. Actually, we're tearing down the building and building a new building, which is a great big undertaking. I am a hospital district commissioner, which is an elected position. I volunteer for a lot of different things, and Toastmasters is a big part of my life. So when I was asked a few years back to become an area director, you're probably thinking, why in the world would she do that? How does she have the time to do that? And I loved it so much, I decided to do it again. So I was an area director twice. And then I became the division director, and now the program quality director, and hopefully next year, the division director. Now, you might think to yourself, she's got to be a crazy person to do all of that. But honestly, the reason that I do what I do in the leadership position in Toastmasters, it is because it helps me with my personal life. It helps me with my job. Am I perfect? No. Do I make mistakes? All the time. Even now, in putting together these trainings and doing all of the things that I'm doing, I'm not perfect and I make a lot of mistakes. But what I do is I show up. I show up and I give the best that I can give, and it's enough. And I would love to have you join me next year in a leadership position. You would not regret it. You get to meet the coolest people. You get to learn things you never thought you would learn. It expands your horizon in Toastmasters and in life in general. So please, please, please think about it. Join me. It'll be a lot of fun, I promise. With that, Kevin, now we can do the survey. We're going to put a survey into the chat, a link to a survey. And I really want you to please fill this out. We're going to give you just a few minutes while we're on here to get that started. If you need to leave, please finish it. It's valuable feedback for us. So as we put these trainings on, we know the things that you really want to see in the trainings. So please fill that out. And thank you so much for joining us. And Kevin, if you'll show the next slide for me. So what's next? We have our next club officer training on Tuesday, November 9th, Building a Healthy Team. You can find the full schedule of club officer trainings on d2tm.org on the calendar. Please go back to your clubs, share with your club officers that we've had a great time today and you would love them to join one of the many trainings that we have. They can get credit by attending one training, any one of them. It does not have to be the officer role one. We are posting them on YouTube, but to get credit, you do have to attend an in-person one. So please pass that on to your club, not just officers, but the members too. Pass it on to everybody that you talk to. And thank you for being here. Fill out that survey. Bye, everybody.
And of course, you'll be eligible to win the Super 7 award.
Oh, yes.
And $50 District 2 if you do manage to get all 7 of your club officers trained before February the 28th.
Thank you for that reminder, Heather. If you'd like to stick around for a couple of minutes, and if you have any questions for us, I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes and answer any questions. Thank you for the great team of trainers, our Zoom host, Kevin, our timer, Bob. Thank you all, our panelists. Great job, everyone. We appreciate you so much. I can't give you in-person stuff, but you'll get something from me later.